Chapter 411. Great Future Plans. Renzu was overjoyed upon seeing his son and ran towards him. Verdant Great Sun had turned into a white ghost and was lying beside a lake, scooping out the water with a bowl and drinking it. The water was like wine with its fragrance pervading the area. Verdant Great Sun drank it with utmost satisfaction. "My son, don't drink anymore. Come, let's go back." Renzu walked towards Verdant Great Sun and shouted, "Esteemed father, how did you come here? This is great. Let's drink together." Verdant Great Sun opened his hazy eyes and looked at Renzu. Renzu seized the wine bowl from him and said with exasperation, "Don't drink anymore. You only know how to drink wine. Everyone knows there is a bewitching lake in the land of the dead, and its water is the bewitching soup. When ghosts drink it, they become muddle-headed and lose the desire to leave." Verdant Great Sun, however, refuted. "Father, you are wrong. This is not the bewitching soup. It is the soul-calming wine. It can calm down your soul and remove all the impurities. Your soul will no longer be restless, and you will experience utmost tranquility in your heart. This is one of the best quality wines in this world. I don't care what wine it is. You have to follow me back." Renzu pulled Verdant Great Sun's hand, but found Verdant Great Sun was as heavy as a mountain and could not be budged. Verdant Great Sun shook his head. "Some people, upon death, will be as heavy as a mountain. Some people, upon death, will be light as a feather. Father, I had reputation goo in my life and died after bathing in the light of glory. When I arrived here, my body had become heavier than a mountain. I cannot even walk a single step and can only lie down here." "What?" Renzu immediately felt gloomy and anxiously shouted, "I told you before, a tall tree attracts the wind. Reputation is not always a good thing. Throw away the reputation goo." Verdant Great Sun shook his head and sighed. "We were not born with fame and fortune. We also cannot take them with us after death. After I died, reputation goo left me. It is fixed immortal travel goo that has accompanied me. Fixed immortal travel goo could bring Verdant Great Sun's soul out of the door of life and death, or even bring him to any place in the outside world. However, Verdant Great Sun could only truly resurrect after walking through the path of life. What do we do now?" Renzu realized he had been played by wisdom goo. Although he had arrived at the deepest part of the door of life and death, a death domain that had endless darkness, and has also found Verdant Great Sun, he discovered he could not bring back his son.at this moment. Fairness Goo spoke. "Oh Renzu, do you still not understand? There are only two paths in door of life and death. Both appeared because of destiny goo. Life and death is determined by destiny. All living beings live and thus die. This is the cycle that allows the universe to continue existing. Your eldest son Verdant Great Sun died. This is destiny and you should accept it. Moreover, he is living a good life here. Obsession Death Domain is the world's most tranquil place. He is drinking the world's supreme quality wine and is free from all the worries of the outside world. Do you know how blissful this is?" Renzu stood there and looked at his flesh and blood for a while before heaving a deep sigh. He knew he could not bring back his son's soul. At least it was like that for now. He bid farewell to the Fairness Goo and also his son, and left the Obsession Death Domain. He stepped on another path this time. It was the path of life which went from darkness to light. However, Renzu soon realized walking this path was countless times more difficult than when he walked in through the path of death. There were many more suffering goo on path of life than path of death. When Renzu had walked through the path of death, his journey became smoother along the way, and the suffering goo lesser the further he walked. But as he walked through the path of life, there was not only more suffering goo, but every step he took would cause much more suffering goo to fly over and obstruct him. Courage goo could not resist them any longer. "Renzu, there are too many suffering goo and they will continue to increase. There is peace in death, but life has endless suffering. Go to Dang Hun Mountain quickly and break some gut stones. If you want to survive, just relying on courage won't be enough. You need guts too." Renzu hurried forward to Dang Hun Mountain and picked the guts goo while enduring the tremors in his soul. With guts goo's help, his soul strengthened greatly, and although he still suffered the tremors, it was not of much worry. He passed through Dang Hun Mountain and arrived at Luopa Valley. Luopa Valley was a maze with winding and twisted paths. Occasionally, there were a large area of bewilderment fog which could cause the soul to loosen, and occasionally, Luopa wind would blow through and cut apart the soul. Renzu had fallen into the lowest part of my life and could not distinguish the directions. Because his soul was strengthened by guts goo, it was loosening in the bewilderment fog at a slower speed. The loosened soul was cut apart by the Luopa wind. Renzu almost completely lost his way, But fortunately at this time, Faith Gu flew out and shone upon his path. Renzu was able to walk out of the Luopa Valley with only the essence of his soul remaining. He let out a huge breath of relief and could feel he was close to success. He walked to the reverse-flowing river. This was the final barrier in the path of life. It was extremely difficult to move against the stream. Endless suffering pushed upon him, causing him to make very slow progress. However, he forcibly persevered and walked towards the light. Almost there. He looked at the success that was just ahead of him. Only one final step remained. He let out a breath of turbid air and relaxed. Forgetting the warning of the wisdom goo, he stopped. This brief pause caused Renzu to be washed away by the river. Life was not easy. It was like a boat moving against the flow of the river. If you do not continue moving forward, you will be pushed back. Renzu was washed away by the river into the depths of Luopa Valley. He was so tired he could not budge a bit and was trapped in the Luopa Valley. Fang Yuan broke the final gut stone and groaned in satisfaction. Right now, he felt very comfortable. The heavy injuries in his soul were already completely recovered and moreover, his soul had even strengthened by 5 times. A feeling of power burst out from the depths of his heart. This feeling did not come from the strengthening of his physical body, but from the vigor of his spirits. Fang Yuan had a feeling he could do anything easily, whether it was analyzing problems or doing multiple tasks. Unfortunately, there are only over 100 gut stones on Dang Hun Mountain, and not all of them contain guts goo. Fang Yuan felt some regret. When Hu Immortal obtained Dang Hun Mountain, it had already changed hands several times and was completed looted. Hu Immortal moved it to the Blessed Land and managed it for decades. Almost every year, she would send large amounts of foxes to their deaths at Dang Hun Mountain, using their soul to irrigate the mountain and create gutstones. However, these gutstones were almost all used by the Hu Immortal. After she died, these over 100 gutstones had slowly grown over close to 8 years and now were completely used by Fang Yuan. According to the Hu Immortal Land Spirit's description, close to 10,000 foxes needed to be sacrificed to grow a gutstone. The stronger the beast kings that died, the more gutstones would be produced. Fang Yuan could not adopt this method. When the Blessed Land was at its prime, it was inevitable and all right for Hu Immortal to do so. However, the Blessed Land was very weak now, and the fox groups had decreased by a large amount. Killing these fox groups was not sensible for long-term prospects. With his soul injuries recovered, Fang Yuan started quietly thinking his future plans without relaxing the slightest bit. Obtaining the Hu Immortal Blessed Land was no doubt a huge help to his plans, but at the same time also greatly affected his plans. Now, with Dang Hun Mountain in my possession, my soul's foundation can continue to strengthen. And from my previous life, I have experience and insight in controlling the bloodbaths. Such enormous advantage should be used. Walking the enslavement path is an obvious choice now. However, there is also a disadvantage in enslavement path in that the enslavement path Gu masters can be easily assaulted and beheaded. So I cannot relax in my strength path cultivation as well. With this, Fang Yuan was going to walk on both strength and enslavement paths, organizing and feeding 2 sets of Gu worms. If it was before, it would be difficult for Fang Yuan to do this. But now, with Hu Immortal Blessed Land, it would be no problem. The perfect outcome is to refine Second Aperture Gu. With Second Aperture, I could divide the sets of enslavement and strength path into different apertures without disturbing each other. At the same time, there would be enough primeval essence to control the 2 sets of Gu worms. At that time, with a wave of his hand, a huge army of beasts and insects would cover the sky and earth, creating a river of blood in a blink of an eye. Creating destruction and mayhem. If there was any foolish person who tried to use the tactic of beheading the leader, then Fang Yuan's strength path cultivation would make them realize how cruel reality was and why flowers were red one. Thinking of this, Fang Yuan took out the Second Aperture Gu from his aperture. This Gu was like a peanut shell, shining with golden light. The patterns on its surface were scarlet veins of blood. This was the embryo form of the Second Aperture Gu, formed from combining false Gu and lifespan Gu. It could survive for 40 years. There are enough immortal essence to truly refine the Second Aperture Gu. 2/3 Watch Gu can also be easily obtained. But I still require Divine Travel Gu. Fang Yuan pondered. Immortal Gu were unique. Only one immortal Gu of the same type could exist in the world. Divine Travel Gu was already transformed into Fixed Immortal Travel Gu and no longer existed now. This allowed a new Divine Travel Gu to appear in the world. Moreover, there was an extraordinary advantage of Divine Travel Gu. It could be easily obtained. It was not like the other immortal Gu that were so hard to capture. The legends of Renzu had written it clearly. As long as one drank the 4 top-quality wines of the world, divine travel goo could condense into being in their body. Apart from the wine brewed by the wild beasts and those that were naturally formed, humans' brewing techniques had flourished continually, and now the amount of top-quality wines were much more than the ancient times. Searching for the 4 top-quality wines might be somewhat troublesome, but could be done by spending some time. Fang Yuan had the blessed land and the assistance of the little who immortal land spirit, but the main problem did not lie here, because divine travel goo could be easily obtained. Others could also easily take advantage of it. In case someone else obtained divine travel goo, no matter how much top-quality wines Fang Yuan drank, he would not obtain the divine travel goo. Southern Borders Fei clan possess a top-quality wine Zhuangxi Fei. Eastern Sea's rank 7 goo immortal Zui Xian Wang has created a sea of wine, concealing countless wines, and holds a wine reception every year. Northern Plains Imperial Court has the long life wine. These great forces or maybe other goo immortals as well could be in possession of 1 or 2 top-quality wine. Their chances of obtaining divine travel goo is much greater than mine. With this calculation, Fang Yuan not only had to resist the earthly calamity and manage the blessed land, he also had to quickly gather the 4 top-quality wine and refine second aperture goo. However, these are not all. The crucial point lies in spring-autumn cicada. Time is flowing 5 times faster here. Spring-autumn cicada's recovery speed will also become extremely quick. Being able to rebirth 3 times is already an extremely good luck. I cannot gamble on luck the 4th time. Before spring-autumn cicada recovers, I need to have success at first attempt goo, immediate success goo, smooth success goo, or any of the others. Fang Yuan did not have enough strength before. Now, he had the blessed land and abundant resources. He could try to get these goo already. Chapter 412. I like your fear. Who immortal blessed land, Southern District. Yin Yong, wake up quickly. Stop sleeping. You've slept for 3 years already. A voice woke Yin Yong up from his sleep that a lump of gray stones with a mossy surface started to vibrate as the tremors intensified, causing the dust to disperse. From the large oval stone, 4 limbs and a head appeared like the blossoming of a flower. Next, a gray rockman stood up. Yin Yong woke up from his sleep. Grandpa? Yin Yong opened his eyes, looking at the rockman who woke him up. It was his 800-year-old grandpa, the leader of the Huisher tribe. Grandpa, why did you wake me up? I want to sleep for another 2 to 3 years. Yin Yong sighed, begrudging. Rockmen love to sleep. When they sleep, they curled into a ball, forming a large oval stone. Each sleeping session lasts 7 to 8 years. Stop sleeping, my grandson. You are already 180 years old. Your father died earlier, and I cannot live much longer. In a few decades, you will be our Huisher tribe's new tribe leader. Rockmen have a long lifespan, generally 1,000 years to live. Ordinary humans could barely live for 100 years, but Yin Yong was 180 and had just reached adulthood. Grandpa, I do not want to be tribe leader. After becoming leader, I will not have time to sleep casually anymore. Yin Yong pouted, but saw his grandpa staring angrily, and chose to shut up. Huisher tribe leader chided. Why haven't you grown up? You slept for so many years in vain. Quickly pack up and clean the moss off you. Pull off all the weed that had grown on you. Bring the offerings with you and go with grandpa to the ground. We have to meet the immortal. We cannot be disrespectful. It is time to pay offerings to the immortal again? But I remember there is still a year left. Yin Yong said as he plucked the weed off him. After sleeping for so many years, his armpits, his groin, and back all had lots of weed. Especially the black thread grass in his groin area. They were hard as steel and curly. Every time he plucked one, Yin Yong felt great pain. Sigh. There is a problem this time. The immortal changed. This immortal came not too long ago. He is calling for us. Old clan leader sighed and said with worry, New male immortal? I hope he is easier to speak to than that female immortal. Maybe we can discuss with him. After all, we have to contribute so much offerings every 10 years. It is taxing. The other tribe leaders, and I also have this thought. On a large altar made of green rocks, Fang Yuan wore his black robe as his long black hair was let down. Sitting at the main seat staring at the people below with his deep dark pupils, there were tens of rockmen kneeling below. Among them, 8 were rockmen leaders, 2 gray rockmen, 3 granite rockmen, 1 iron rockman, one green rockman, and one white rockman at the same time. There were offerings. Large amounts of or containing gold, silver, bronze, iron, as well as other gems and jewels. Goo worms, etc. All sorts of metallic elements would grow on the rockmen's bodies as time passed. Fang Yuan looked at these offerings, understanding at once why Danghun Palace was built so luxuriously. If these were brought to Earth, they would be a huge asset. But here, their greatest use was to become Goo refinement materials. Hu immortal, using these things as decoration, was only her womanly love for beauty. If she could choose to exchange them for primeval stones, she would trade away all these gems and jewels without a second thought. Among the offerings, the most valuable were Goo worms. But these Goo were mostly rank 1 rock skin Goo, rank 2 monolith Goo. There was only one rank 3 Goo, stone aperture Goo. Fang Yuan had once used this Goo. Back then spring-autumn cicadas pressure on the aperture could not be relieved. Thus, when he was desperate, he used it. The rockmen were skilled at digging. They lived deep underground. Their food was dirt, and sometimes when they dig underground, they would discover Goo worms. What did you say? You want to reduce the offerings? Fang Yuan's eyes squinted as he stood up, slowly walking down the stairs, coming towards the rockmen leaders. The rockmen were tall and huge. Even when they kneeled on the ground, their shoulders were still higher than Fang Yuan's head. Esteemed Lord Immortal, our rockmen tribes have contributed so much offerings during these 30 years. During these years, the earth rumbled. The north area had floods. The east area had fires. Life is difficult. These things that we managed to acquire are getting harder and harder to find. Immortal, please have mercy and forgive our inability. Reduce the offering amount by a bit. The oldest rockmen tribe leader begged. That's right, Lord Immortal, please reduce the offerings. These years, we have been decreasing in numbers. Immortal, please understand, we will never forget your kindness. The other rockmen leaders started saying, reduce the offerings? Of course you can. In fact, I can exempt you all from these offerings. Fang Yuan smiled kindly and warmly. The rockmen's expression were joyous, but I have a condition. Next, Fang Yuan said, I need you all to dig a river from the north, transport the water towards the east to stop the fire from spreading. What? Hearing this, the rockmen were shocked. Quickly, they reacted, shouting loudly, Esteemed Lord Immortal, you cannot do this. Digging a river from scratch. This is a huge project. We rockmen need sleep. Without sufficient sleep, we will die. And there is a great fire and huge amounts of water. You ask us to go dig a river, but isn't that asking us to go die? At once, everyone flew into a rage. Many young rockmen were kneeling at one corner, but hearing this, they rushed over, staring at Fang Yuan vigilantly. Master, who immortal land spirit beside Fang Yuan saw this, and she felt slightly worried. The rockmen had a stubborn nature. They had foolhardiness, emphasizing their pride, and would not accede to demands. When they are rash, they would even attack demon venerables or immortal venerables, regardless of who the other party is. Hu immortal was only to contain these rockmen because at the start, she had spent a lot of effort and gave them a lot of benefits. Master, these rockmen do not reason with people. Asking them to offer these things was already their limit. Little Hu Immortal sent her thoughts to Fang Yuan secretly, reminding him limit. Fang Yuan scoffed, his mouth opening as he showed his bright white teeth, laughing ruthlessly. You rockmen are too insolent. You dare to bargain with me? Humph. The place you are living at is mine. The dirt you eat is mine. The spirit spring beside your tribe is also mine. You live here. You are my slave. I want to dig a new river. That is not a request and not a transaction. It is an order. The rockmen heard this, and they all stood up, looking furious. Immortal, you don't know what's good for you. You dare to look down on us rockmen. Back then when we relocated here, it was because of a female immortal. But the environment here is getting worse. Who would want to stay here anymore? You want us to dig a river that is asking us to die. Do you think we rockmen are fools? We rockmen are born from heaven and earth. We will not be your slaves. Let's go, relocate. I've had enough of this shitty place. The rockmen leaders shouted, falling out with Fang Yuan at once. The followers they brought, the young rockmen, all came forward, clenching their fists as they stared at Fang Yuan with a dangerous look. You want to leave? Ha ha. Fang Yuan threw his head back and laughed, like he had heard the funniest joke in the world. Next, he stopped laughing, looking at these rockmen coldly. His tone was chilly. Where do you think this is? Come and go as you please. The old rules are no more. From today onwards, I am the greatest ruler. My words are heaven's will. You will abide by my rules, even if you don't want to. Many young rockmen clenched their fists and howled. Immortal, you are trying to step over my tribe's baseline. Immortal, you might be strong, but we are not afraid. We rockmen will never lower our heads to brute force. We are natural warriors. We fear no death. Only love can make us dig out our hearts. Only warmth can make us lower our backs. Roar! Fang Yuan pushed with his hand, and a golden dragon flew out. The golden dragon roared, killing the rockman that was screaming the loudest. He killed the granite rockman's old tribe leader. Old tribe leader is dead. We have to get revenge. Even an immortal has to die under our tribe's fury. Granite old tribe leader's death was like the trigger, causing the rockman's anger to erupt. The rockmen attacked Fang Yuan in waves. Every step made a dent in the ground, as they gave off an impressive aura. Dozens of rockmen attacked together, giving off the disposition of a grand army of 10,000 from their bodies. Numerous lights shone. There were also goo worms inhibiting these rockmen's bodies. They were activated through their will, but a moment later, these lights vanished. Little who immortal struck, sealing all the goo worms. Fang Yuan snickered as he began his slaughter. The rockmen were not afraid of death, but their strength was inferior to Fang Yuan. They were all broken down into shards, dying a pathetic death. But these rock fragments gathered like magnets, forming new rockmen. Kill. Resist the tyranny. Take revenge for Father. We are born from heaven and earth. We die due to heaven and earth. Thus we have no fear. Tiny rockmen charged over, and were all slaughtered by Fang Yuan. But these rock fragments gathered into even smaller rockmen. The number of these rockmen continued to shrink, but after they were formed, they charged towards Fang Yuan and shouted things like exacting revenge for their grandpa, father, etc. This was the way the rockmen reproduced. It was a male-only race. After the old rockman dies, the soul and rocks they split into will form new rockmen and inherit a portion of the old rockman's memories or some important experiences. In some cases, old rockmen sleep too much and their soul foundation accumulates to a degree. They would split out a portion of their bodies to form new tiny rockmen. After Fang Yuan killed the third wave of rockmen, the world was finally silent once more. Only one rockman remained, lying on the ground, shivering. What is your name? Fang Yuan slowly walked towards him. My name is Yen. Yen Yong. The young rockman stammered. Do you know why I left only you alive? Fang Yuan stood on Yen Yong's head. No, I do not know. Because you are terrified. Because I like your fear and horror towards me. Fang Yuan smiled warmly. Chapter 413, A Show. 3 days later, a seriously injured Yen Yong returned to his tribe and woke up all the hibernating rockmen. A male immortal is here. He is a demon. He wanted to enslave all of us. Not only this, he also wanted to take away the beautiful men of our rockman tribe to become his plaything. We rockmen are born of nature, free and unfettered. How could we bow our backs to such lecherous authority? We resisted at the spot. The immortal was too strong, but we rockmen were not afraid of sacrificing and fought him without fearing death. Finally, we injured him and beat him into retreat. The other tribesmen were all sacrificed, and only I was able to return. I am dying, but that immortal is still alive. Before he ran away, he said he will lead his fox army and annihilate all our rockmen tribes. Yen Yong weakly lamented, announcing a frightening information to his tribesmen. The rockmen were shocked and afraid, grieving and also furious. Some declared war, some wanted revenge, some mentioned migrating, and some wanted to discuss. They had become lost their bearings without a leader, whether it was the inheritor or the old tribe leader. They had all died at Fang Yuan's hands. There were altogether 8 tribes of rockmen, and they had fallen into chaos now. Some rockmen wanted to get the concrete details from Yen Yong, but Yen Yong's injuries were too severe, and after informing them of this grievous news, he lost consciousness. While they were still in the midst of discussing, just like Yen Yong said, waves after waves of fox groups started attacking rockmen tribes. The rockmen resisted with all their strength, but there were way too many fox groups. The situation was gradually turning grave. The 8 tribes had no choice but to ally and retreat underground to defend themselves. However, the fox groups did not let them go and repeatedly attacked the underground. The fox groups paid a disastrous price every time they attacked, but they still came endlessly. The rockmen cursed Fang Yuan. Their hatred towards him were like an inferno that could not be extinguished. The situation became worse day by day, and despair spread in the hearts of the rockmen. However, right at this time, Yin Yong woke up. Rockmen could recuperate from their injuries through sleep. His injuries had healed for the most part. He immediately led the rockmen and made beautiful counterattacks. We rockmen are a courageous group with no fear of death. Even the immortal cannot humiliate us, Yin Yong announced to everyone and raised their morale. Don't think the immortal is strong. He is only a paper tiger and can only send these fox groups to their death. He is already injured. At the same time, he proclaimed the injuries of the immortal and gave hope to the rockmen. The despairing rockmen tightly grabbed onto this hope, like it was a straw that could save them as they were drowning. Yin Yong changed the subject and talked about the old tribe leaders. He was injured by the combined efforts of the old tribe leaders. The sacrifice of the old tribe leaders is our greatest grief. Especially the old White Rock tribe leader. His life ended as he was in my arms. Before he died, he entrusted the whole tribe to me. I looked as his soul dispersed and felt ashamed. Why wasn't it me who died, but him? He beat his chest as he said this, appearing to be extremely sad. Immediately, some rockmen persuaded, Lord Yin Yong, don't grieve. It is already very amazing you were able to survive and bring us the warning, even leading us towards victory. That's right, we Iron Rockmen all admire you. Since the old tribe leader entrusted the tribe to you, then please lead us White Rockmen. What rockmen liked was to sleep soundly and were not too obsessed with authority. Especially at this juncture of life and death where they were living in anxiety, the rockmen hoped for a strong and brave rockman to lead them. Thereupon, Yin Yong first inherited his tribe's tribe leader position and then White Rock tribe. Over a month later, he got hold of the remaining tribes one after another, becoming the joint leader of the 8 rockmen tribes. Another half a month passed. He led the rockmen and drove out the fox groups, protecting his tribes. This is not enough. As long as the immortal doesn't die, we have no future. The fox groups will regroup and attack our home again. We can only attack that immortal mountain and completely kill the immortal for a beautiful and peaceful life. Yin Yong immediately mentioned attacking Dang Hun Mountain. Some rockmen, however, seemed to hesitate. We have just suffered such a bitter battle. We just want to sleep now. Our rockman population has decreased greatly. We don't have the strength to attack that demonic stronghold. We have large numbers of offsprings born from this bitter battle. We need to raise them properly till they become adults. Yin Yong could only shift the topic to the old White Rock tribe leader. My tribesmen, will I bring you to your deaths? Attacking the immortal mountain was not my idea. It was a secret the old White Rock tribe leader told me before his death. He said this immortal mountain is the legendary Dang Hun Mountain. Dang Hun Mountain has gut stones. If our rockmen can obtain these gut stones, it can increase our strength and make our tribe stronger. The old White Rock tribe leader was the oldest and the most experienced rockman. He was widely known by the rockmen as the Sage. With his last words along with Yin Yong's clear might, the rockmen were agitated and formed an expedition to attack Dang Hun Mountain. Fang Yuan had intentionally arranged some fox groups around Dang Hun Mountain, forming a weak defensive line. Yin Yong continually boosted the rockmen's morale. See, there is not much left of the demonic immortals' fox army. We are already close to victory. The rockmen sang of victory and triumph along the way, charging toward Dang Hun Mountain with uplifted morale at Dang Hun Mountain. Fang Yuan appeared with a group of foxes and fought a great battle with the rockmen. Fang Yuan showed terrifying strength and killed many rockmen, causing all the rockmen to be terrified. But at this moment, Yin Yong stood up and pointed to Fang Yuan's injuries and his paper tiger immortal essence, and fought a decisive battle with him. The fox groups were eliminated, as Fang Yuan was defeated, forced to escape from Yin Yong's assault. Wait till I come back after gathering immortal essence from the water and fire. That moment will be your end. Before retreating, Fang Yuan shouted loudly with a malevolent expression. Rockmen had rough physique and their movements were slow, and not being familiar with Dang Hun Mountain's terrain, they could only let Fang Yuan escape. The Rockmen worshipped Yin Yong for beating back the immortal and cheered victoriously. My tribesmen, now is not the time to cheer. Yin Yong stood up. We can't stay on Dang Hun Mountain for long. This is a demonic land. The old White Rock tribe leader had told me. Every year, only during these few days, we Rockmen can enter this place safely. We need to hurry and collect the gutstones here. 3 days later, we need to leave this place. Their bodies were made of solid rock. There was a burden on their soul to hold up such a strong and firm body. If the Rockmen moved too excessively, it could harm their soul. Thus, Rockmen would spend 80% of their whole life sleeping and nurturing their soul. When the foundation of their soul was thick enough, it would leak out. This overflowing part of the soul would fall on a rock and form a new life. Rockmen tribes reproduce like this. After the Rockmen obtained the gutstones, the guts goo could strengthen and expand their soul, causing the soul to overflow and form little Rockmen. 3 days later, inside the mountain, in Dang Hun Palace, Yin Yong kneeled on the ground and reported with reverence and fear as he lowered his head and bowed. Reporting to the immortal, with these 3 days of soul strengthening, our Rockmen tribes have increased by 6,000 little Rockmen. Including us old tribesmen, the whole population has increased to 3 times the population before the battle. Fang Yuan was sitting grandly on the fluffy bed and looked down at Yin Yong. Good. With this, your Rockmen have enough manpower to start the river construction. Next, you remember what to do, right? Or do you need me to tell you again? Yin Yong promptly replied. Supreme Immortal, I did not dare to forget your words and have engraved them in my mind. Good. Fang Yuan nodded indifferently. I will give you 3 months of time to dig a great river that cuts across the eastern and northern areas. 3 months. Yin Yong was stupefied. Mighty Immortal, us Rockmen need sleep to nurture our souls. If we move excessively, we will tire ourselves to death. The great river is so long, and with only 3 months of time, we would have not be able to have any rest. If we work like this, our Rockmen tribes will probably die out. You won't die completely. I have already calculated. There will be over 200 Rockmen remaining. Fang Yuan laughed. Yin Yong felt a chill in his body. There were 10,000 Rockmen now, but there would only be over 200 after the project. How terrifying of a sacrifice was this? 3 months later, I want to see a great river. If I don't see it, I will tell the truth to your tribesmen before I kill you. Now roll away. Fang Yuan's tone was cold and unfeeling. Yin Yong's body trembled all over hearing this demonic threat. He had a very deep fear towards Fang Yuan and did not dare to retort. His body curled up into a ball, and surprising, he really rolled away. Master, we paid a huge price back then to bring in these Rockmen. The little who immortal land spirit tactfully persuaded. She could not endure seeing such a huge amount of Rockmen dying like this. Don't worry, the Rockmen has still a great use to me. And isn't it easy to increase their population? Fang Yuan leaned on a chair with his eyes squinting as he took out a burial soul toad from his aperture. Burial soul toad was a rank for goo used to store things. It was one of the goo worms left by the who immortal. It was palm-sized big and was gray color. There were small warts all over its back, and its large eyes flashed with weird and gloomy green light. That it could only store souls, and its belly would inflate as it sucked in the souls. Fang Yuan used this to collect the souls of the Rockmen who died in the battle with the fox groups. Now, this soul burial toad's belly was deflated. The souls that were inside it before were placed on Dang Hun Mountain by Fang Yuan to breed new gutstones. Fang Yuan used a part of the gutstones to make his soul 6 times stronger than that of a normal person, and the remaining gutstones were given to the Rockmen tribes. The Rockmen had no idea. The strengthening of their souls was all due to the death of their companions. Chapter 414. Conscience of Those in Power. Yin Yong got out of Dang Hun Palace. After getting through some twisted and dark tunnels, he arrived on Dang Hun Mountain. After seeing the crystal pink mountain, Yin Yong blew out a breath of turbid air. His fear and pressure had decreased greatly after leaving Fang Yuan. After moving on the mountain for a while, he was finally discovered by his tri-mates. Oh, our great and honorable leader, our hero, you are here. Some rockmen cheered. Please let me kiss your foot, to express my adoration of you. A few rockmen kneeled on the ground. Big hero, your courage is greater than heaven, your guts is thicker than the earth. Some tiny rockmen formed into groups and shouted loudly. Yin Yong laughed. No one knew how bitter he felt. The cheers he heard were extremely joyous. There were many tribesmen around him, gathering together. But he felt extremely lonely at this point. He looked at these tribesmen, these smiling rockmen. They were all going to die 3 months later, dying of exhaustion after digging the river. But what could he do? From what the other rockmen saw, Dang Han Mountain's victory was glorious. It was worth celebrating. But only he knew, this was only a game manipulated in the dark by that immortal. The cruel and chilling truth made him understand clearly that the sacrifice of those rockmen, in this difficult victory, it was so laughably pathetic. They were powerless. He led his tribesmen and gained more victories. But at the same time his fear towards Fang Yuan grew. That immortal, he is a demon. His heart is harder and colder than us rockmen. His strength is greater than the weight of the mountains. I am so weak. What can I do? Resistance means death. I admit my cowardice. I am really afraid of dying. I have not slept enough. I am only 180 years old. The moment Yin Yong thought about Fang Yuan's appearance, his heart was filled with terror. His lingering bit of conscience was torturing him. He knew. He was about to send his tribesmen to death personally. He was being grilled by his conscience. Every praise from his tribesmen was like a whip, causing his heart to be full of pain and scars. Our esteemed, beloved tribe leader, you are finally back. Everyone's waiting. The rockmen gave way to Yin Yong as he walked unobstructed towards higher ground. My tribesmen, these 3 days, our tribe has grown by many times. Our conquest has gotten us glorious results. But such victory is insufficient. Are you all willing to continue following me towards a brighter future? Yin Yong looked down at his tribesmen and shouted loudly. The rockmen used the loudest cheer they could muster to express their 120% support towards Yin Yong. Yin Yong nodded. He had expected such an outcome among the rockmen. There were no outliers or knowledgeable old rockmen. During the few intense battles, they had gloriously sacrificed themselves. The remaining rockmen were all newborn. They had a simple mind. As for the remaining old rockmen, they were all hardcore supporters of Yin Yong, his loyal worshippers. Yin Yong patiently waited for the cheers to stop before continuing. These 3 days, I had been considering, how do we deal with the escaped immortal? Immortals have a mortal essence, thus they are able to control the Fox army and have terrifying strength. He must have retreated to the lake at the north area or hid in east area's fire pit. We cannot allow him to recover. Tribe leader is right. Tribe leader is too smart. We cannot allow that evil immortal to recover his immortal essence. When that accursed demon recovers his strength, he will definitely find trouble with us rockmen. But what do we do now? The lake and fire pit are both dangerous areas. Even us rockmen cannot last long there. And these 2 areas are so wide, who knows where the immortal escaped to? Everyone was speaking as the scene turned noisy. Yin Yong interrupted everyone's discussions, shouting, "That's why. I thought of the only solution. We will use soil to fill the fire pit and lake. That way, the immortal will be unable to recover his immortal essence." Oh God, that is an insane idea. At once, some rockmen shouted, "My great tribe leader, the lake is so wide, it causes people to stare in amazement. The fire pit has a fatal temperature. How can we use soil to fill it? That is impossible." An old rockman immediately argued. Yin Yong stared at this old rockman deeply, remembering him to heart. This rockman dared to question him. It showed that his idolization was not deep enough, thus he shall get the heaviest and toughest job later. Working to death. At this time, another old rockman said, "We cannot do this forcefully. I have a solution. Maybe we can dig out a river and direct the lake water to the fire pit, using water to neutralize fire. That will be easier." Yin Yong's killing intent rose even more. This old rockman was very intelligent. He was a bigger threat than the old rockman who rebuked him. He immediately decided in his heart. He was going to send this old rockman to a defense mission. He shall be killed by the Fox army. This threat has to be eliminated. Yin Yong praised this old man plainly, shouting, "That is exactly my idea. We have to dig a river and direct the water over to end the fire. The immortal will have no place to recover immortal essence." Actually, Whitestone old tribe leader taught me before dying. He said that the water at the north and the fire at the east were all done by that evil male immortal. That is the source of his power, just like how we rockmen eat soil. So Whitestone old tribe leader predicted this. Whitestone old tribe leader, as expected of our philosopher. Whitestone Old Tribe leader was already 998 years old. Of course he knew a lot. All the Rockmen nodded, expressing their agreement with Whitestone Old Tribe leader, but also felt deep pity and anguish towards his death. Rockmen sleep for a long time, they have little interaction with each other. This sense of distance and mystery caused the deceased Whitestone Old Tribe leader's knowledge to feel extremely profound. Using a phrase from Earth, if Whitestone Old Tribe leader could hear this in the afterlife, he might jump out of his coffin in anger. But unfortunately, he was completely killed by Fang Yuan. His soul was not spared, broken down on Dang Hun Mountain by Fang Yuan. The essence landed on the mountain, forming a gutstone. Whether this gutstone was smashed by a Rockman or Fang Yuan himself, that would be an eternal mystery. After discussing, the Rockmen agreed that Yin Yong should be the leader. Overseeing the digging to connect the water and fire, Fang Yuan hid in the background, looking at this scene secretly. After seeing the finalized plan, he ordered Little Who Immortal. The land spirit released a trace of Dang Hun Mountain's power, and the Rockmen felt their soul tremble. They got very dizzy. Many young Rockmen fainted on the spot. Oh no, let's hurry and get out. Dang Hun Mountain is going to attack, Yin Yong said, as he left his tribesmen away from Dang Hun Mountain. They did not return to their original home, but instead got to the north and east area in a grand fashion. In Dang Hun Mountain. Fang Yuan looked expressionlessly at these leaving Rockmen using the smoke cloud. Master, have you heard of the story of the Rockmen? Little Who Immortal's tail was swaying as she spoke meekly. Fang Yuan laughed lightly. You want to urge me to use soft tactics with the Rockmen? Master is so smart. Little Who Immortal's large eyes were shining. Heh, it seems you are not too familiar with this. Often, the power of fear and hatred surpasses gratitude greatly. Back then, when Fang Yuan found out that there was a group of Rockmen, he was overjoyed. The Rockmen lived underground. They ate soil as food and were skilled at digging. A large ground of Rockmen could even build an underground city deep in the ground. Rockmen could excavate resources for the blessed land's owner. They were excellent slaves. Many Gu Immortals want to buy Rockmen and move them into their own blessed land. For Hu Immortal blessed land, because of Dang Hun Mountain, and provided it had enough souls, just one Rockman can use the gutstones to breed into a large clan. Fang Yuan could use this to mass-produce Rockmen and engage in slave trade with other Gu Immortals. Back then, Hu Immortal brought all these Rockmen in with the same intentions. It was true. Rockmen only succumbed to soft tactics. Most of the Rockmen were stubborn and tough, warrior not afraid to die. Thus, many Gu Immortals have to use kindness and benefits to slowly use these Rockmen and maximize their worth. Hu Immortal used such a method, but Fang Yuan did not adopt this. It was too gentle. He wanted to squeeze them dry. To gain the most benefits, this world's competition is so cruel. Not only did men compete with each other, they also had to deal with disasters and calamities. Who knows how many heroes had fallen to floods. So what if you were a Gu Immortal? If you did not arm yourself and make use of every resource you had to strengthen yourself, Hu Immortal's demise would be the best example. A demonic path member has to make the best of his time, considering even the small bit of benefit, taking whatever he can and make himself stronger. Anyone in power has to understand rules, laws, friendship, and morals. These are all tools to squeeze out benefits. Leniency and conscience, cruelty and hatred, they are all the same. Fang Yuan laughed coldly in his heart. After wasting so much time with the Rockmen, there were only 7 months left to the 6th calamity. The lake at the north, fire pit at the east, they were all scars left by previous calamities. Weak spots of the blessed land. When earthly calamities occur, they would be the weakest link. A team is only as strong as its weakest player. The weight a chain can hold up depends on the most fragile section. So what if I am hated, detested, and scolded by countless people? If this world was so simple such that hatred, loathe, and curses work, why would I still need strength? The most important thing was digging the river as soon as possible, to help the blessed land recover as much as it could. It did not matter how many Rockmen died in the process. Since Dang Hun Mountain was here, he just had to capture a few souls, and there would be an uncountable number of Rockmen produced. Chapter 415. For tomorrow. Rumble, rumble. Explosions went off one after another, as dust and smoke rose into the air. This was the site of the river digging project. The Rockmen ate soil as food. Many of the goo worms on the Rockmen's bodies can be used. Lord Tribe Leader. We cannot continue like this. Yesterday, 3 tribesmen died from exhaustion. They had a pitiful death, not even leaving behind a single offspring. An elderly Rockman kneeled before Yin Yong as he cried. Once a rockman dies of exhaustion, their soul will dissipate. They will die for real. There will not be any young rockmen formed from their remaining soul. Yin Yong slammed his chest, howling. Why would I not know? Why would I not know? Heroes have sacrificed for our tribe again. For the bright future of our tribe, for a beautiful tomorrow, they contributed their lives. But precisely so, we cannot slow down. Since the start of the excavation, we have faced many attacks from the Fox army. The size of the Fox group is getting larger, evidently that accursed male immortal is regaining his immortal essence. We have to continue and work hard, digging the river so that he loses his source of power. Old Rockman was stunned, but tribe leader, you are a good Rockman, you think for our tribe. I understand that. These heroes will not die in vain. Look there, I have already made heroic gravestones for them. Their children and descendants will remember them and feel gratitude for the sacrifices made. Yin Yong pointed at the gravestones erected. There was a large number of them. The old Rockman looked at the gravestones, sighing. Once the death of the Rockman appeared, the new tribe leader Yin Yong immediately ordered people to build these gravestones. The low morale was immediately raised. Although every day, countless Rockmen die of exhaustion, they were still in high spirits. They are dead. What is the use of these gravestones? The old Rockman was one of the few left who understood the situation. He felt deeply worried. O leader, he bitterly urged, us Rockmen have to reproduce as well. These Rockmen who die of exhaustion will not even have their souls left. They cannot leave behind descendants. Yin Yong's expression remained unchanged, not saying a word. A young Rockman beside him started grumbling. You old man, are you afraid of dying? Old Rockman immediately retorted. Young man, how can you say that? Yes, I am old, but I am a Rockman. How can a Rockman be afraid of dying? Since you are not afraid to die, why are you talking so much? That's right. We are making contributions to the tribe. What's the matter? We are making a small sacrifice for the bigger good. Beside Yin Yong, a group of young Rockmen started arguing. Old senior, if you feel tired, take a rest first. It is not a problem. My time is limited. I have to go to the other areas to inspect the progress. Yin Yong patted this old Rockman's shoulder as he walked away, continuing on his inspection. A group of young Rockmen followed behind Yin Yong, talking among themselves, expressing their disdain for that old Rockman, being despised by these juniors. The old Rockman felt very depressed. Smoke was coming out of his ears. He wanted to rebuke them loudly, but he saw all the gravestones near the construction area, with all sorts of words carved on them. We have to do this at all cost. As long as we are united, within 3 days, we will complete the river. The bigger our courage, the more we can achieve. To build a beautiful future for our Rockmen tribe. Long live tribe leader Yin Yong. For the bright future of the Rockmen, we contribute our lives, we contribute our youth. The crazed atmosphere engulfed the Rockmen's hearts. Even those Rockmen who died from exhaustion showed a smile before they died. Old Rockman wanted to speak, but his mouth opened many times and did not manage to say a word. He kneeled on the spot in a daze for a long while, until suddenly, he lifted his fist and slammed the ground heavily. Bam! It was a heavy sound. The old Rockman stood up slowly, silently moving his aged body towards the construction ground. Yin Yong rushed to the next site. The river channel was already starting to form, large. Numbers of adult Rockmen were digging in the channel. Beside them, the physically weaker young Rockmen formed into patrolling groups. Some were inspecting the river digging, some were carving slogans, some were making heroic gravestones. These young Rockmen were called Rock Guards, formed by Yin Yong personally. Reporting to tribe leader. Fixed to 6 young Rockmen went to Yin Yong and reported the results of these few days of labor. Reporting to great leader, we have dug another 25 kilometers in this segment. Reporting to great leader, we have unfortunately sacrificed 120 tribesmen. They are all heroes of our tribe. Reporting to great leader, we actually found 3 tribesmen sleeping on the job. This is a disgrace to our tribe. We have to criticize them. Very good, very good. You have all done well. Remember, you have to erect gravestones for our deceased heroes. At the same time, tie up those disgraceful Rockmen and criticize them up public. Let them learn courage from humiliation. Yin Yong spoke caringly. Understood. You are all the future of our tribe. Seeing you all is like seeing the bright future of our tribe. You have to continue working hard. Yin Yong praised. The young Rockmen were extremely spurred on. Their bodies were trembling. Everything for the Rockmen tribe. Our esteemed and beloved leader, you are our symbol of pride. We unite by your side, walking towards a bright and meaningful future. They growled one after another, showing a fanatic gaze. But Yin Yong avoided eye contact with them. These young rockmen's enthusiasm made him fearful. He looked at a faraway place. There, all the different segments of the river were being excavated. Yin Yong could see many rockmen looking down at the yellow soil while lowering their thick backs. The river channel was tens of meters wide. Segment after segment, a long line showed up in his vision. This was a majestic project. Every time Yin Yong saw this scene, his heart palpitated. As long as they are united, the Rockmen tribe's strength was overwhelming. It could change the world. But when Yin Yong thought of Fang Yuan, that terrifying demon, his heart felt a strong chill that turned his enthusiasm into a frozen river. Be at the fox groups outside, the slogans on the stone boards, or the rock guards he created, they were all a part of the demon's plot, with so many methods. He forcefully reduced the Rockmen tribe's resistance to the minimum. Yin Yong was the one who created this scenario personally. Seeing the formation of the river, his fear towards Fang Yuan became greater and greater. That male immortal not only had terrifying strength. What truly caused despair was that scheming and devious mind of his, making him seem like an unpredictable abyss. Yin Yong felt himself sinking into purgatory. He was meek like an ant, while behind him, Fang Yuan's giant figure was staring down at him. He was like a corpse, a puppet. The strings that controlled him was in the hands of Fang Yuan. Every day, he saw his tribesmen die. His heart hurt like a dagger was stabbing it. Seeing the enthusiasm of his tribesmen, dying to dig the river, he felt a pitiful grief. If possible, I would rather not know the truth. Maybe, continuing to live in this lie is true bliss. Yin Yong retracted his gaze, waving his hand and bringing the young rockmen towards the next river segment. This is the last estrus goo. Go. Primeval essence had already been injected, as Fang Yuan flicked his finger and shot the green bean-looking goo into the air. Estrus goo exploded, turning into pink powder as it rained down on the fox group below. The entire fox group breathed in this powder and immediately stirred. Very soon, numerous male foxes sprawled on the female foxes' backs, moving vigorously as they injected their life essence into the female fox's body. The fox gestation varied. For example, golden fox took 2 months to give birth once. Every time, there were 3 to 4 foxes. As for desolate beasts like three-tailed fox, even 100 years was not enough to nurture their fetus. Normally, the stronger the beast, the longer it takes for one gestation. But right now in Who Immortal Blessed Land, the fox groups were ordinary. They had a short gestation period. Ever since the Rockmen started digging the river until the process became smooth, Fang Yuan had been using estrus goo every day, creating new foxes and strengthening the fox army. Hu Immortal did not have an immortal goo. During the 5th earthly calamity, she was killed by Blue Charm Lightning Shadow, thus her set of enslavement path goo worms were not spared. But within Dang Hun Mountain, she left behind a number of goo worms. For example, assistance-type goo like Burial Soul Toad, or expenditure-type goo like estrus goo, as well as some spare goo worms for the enslavement path. Most were fox enslavement gu. To quickly increases strength. Fang Yuan already used up most of these goo worms. The fox group had increased in numbers by several times after his hard work. Although the foxes were omnivores, the blessed land could not sustain such a large number. In less than 2 years, a lot of foxes would be unable to find food and die of starvation. But Fang Yuan could not care less. His whole mind was on enduring the 6th earthly calamity now. A few months passed quickly. A river connected the north and east. The overflowing lake flowed along the river channel, moving quickly with ripples splashing. Swish swish, the great flood flowed into the fire pit. As the two forces clashed, river water evaporated and turned to steam, rising into the air. After the river water calmed down, almost half the black flames were doused. Only 3 burning areas remained at the edges. This way, fire and water wiped each other out. The north area's flood was alleviated, and the ground surfaced once more. Large amounts of water flowed along the river and filled tens of pits, forming many lakes. Even though the north area was still full of mud, and the east area was a burnt land without any living plants, the fusion of fire and water had created something like a scab on a bleeding wound. As long as time passed, the east and north areas will eventually regain their vitality. Under Fang Yuan's instructions, Yin Yong brought the injured and tired 100 or so rockmen back to their homes at the south area. Master, what do we do with these clouds? Little Who Immortal looked at the sky. The thick clouds made her feel helpless. Even though it rained many times already, a lot of water vapor was still in the air, forming into clouds. These clouds blocked the natural light. Causing the east area to be shrouded in darkness, it made people feel irritated. The blessed land did not have sunlight or wind. These clouds would heavily affect the lives of the east area's inhabitants. Ignore them. Fang Yuan looked at the sea of clouds and retracted his gaze. The appearance of the clouds was expected. It was a minor detail. What is truly important is the sixth earthly calamity. If the blessed land survives this, he would slowly settle the issue about the clouds. If it fails to make it, then there is no point in thinking about it.